Hello, and welcome to the QuickBooks Setup Guide for Furniture Wizard. This video is designed to provide you with an understanding of how the connection between Furniture Wizard and QuickBooks works. Please consult your tax professional for guidance. Nothing in this tutorial should be construed as financial advice. The synchronization process will push the following items from Furniture Wizard into QuickBooks: customers, invoices, credit memos or returns, payments, and suppliers. All payments will appear in undeposited funds, which is where bank deposits are made from. Notice, refund payments are not pushed to QuickBooks. Refunds must be handled through the QuickBooks interface. This process pulls back the QuickBooks IDs into Furniture Wizard so the two can stay in sync. There are several processes this allows the automation of. First of all, the sync process automates the accounts receivable process by pushing invoice deposits to a liability account rather than leaving the deposits in accounts receivable. Secondly, when invoices are pushed over, payments are automatically applied to them. With this method, you may have your QuickBooks file in multi-user mode. Please note that QuickBooks and Furniture Wizard must be running on the same computer in order to take advantage of the enhanced sync features. If you are using this via remote desktop, QuickBooks must be installed on the server running in the same user session. The first step in starting the process is to determine the method you will employ. There are two ways of exporting invoices from Furniture Wizard into QuickBooks. First off is the export by order date method. Using this method, all invoices in Furniture Wizard will be sent to QuickBooks. The second method is to export by complete date. Using this method, only invoices with a complete date will be sent. There are four approaches to setting the complete date. The first option is to do nothing. This option will not put a complete date on the Update Complete field. Therefore, you must manually input a date under this field in order for the invoice to be exported. This choice is recommended for those who want to have complete control as to which invoices will be exported and when those invoices will be exported. However, one thing to keep in mind when choosing this option is that Furniture Wizard's completed sales reports are run by this date. Therefore, when comparing this report with other reports, your total amounts may not be the same. The second option is to select If Paid in Full. This option will automatically put a complete date when the invoice is completely paid in full, regardless of whether the merchandise has been delivered or not. The third option is to select Delivered. This option will automatically put a complete date when all items on an invoice are delivered, whether or not payment was received in full. And the fourth option is to select If Paid and Delivered. This option will automatically put a complete date when the invoice is completely paid in full and when all items on the invoice are delivered. Only invoices that fit these criteria will be exported to QuickBooks. To set these preferences, double-click on the wizard hat, and then go into Preferences. From there, click on Invoice Preferences. Under the section Invoice is Complete When, choose the option you would like to utilize from the four options previously mentioned. The second step in planning is to select a start date. Careful consideration needs to be given as to the first day of export. If you are using the invoice date as an export method, everything from then forward will be pushed over. If you are using the complete date method, invoices with order dates before your start date that are not completed will go over after they are completed. Also, payments from those incomplete orders predating your start date will be transferred over. For a new startup, this is most likely the first day of writing invoices. For conversions, this will be the date used at the end of the financial period when you convert. Careful consideration needs to be given to the option that you choose, since tax liability needs to be considered with the exporting of these invoices. Consult with your accountant for advice on which option is best for your particular situation. Invoices from a previous month need to have the date changed to the date of export in order for that invoice to be exported. Or as explained before, set the start date to a date back far enough to cover the date of those invoices. You must remember though, that by doing this, payments from the previous periods will also be exported. And if you have already accounted for those payments in QuickBooks, you will have double posted them. Once the invoice is in QuickBooks, you can change the date to the original date. A blank QuickBooks without customers, suppliers, and any transactions must be used when starting the SDK method. If you do not have an existing QuickBooks file, you can download a QuickBooks sample file from our website, which is set up with the accounts and specific items needed for the synchronization. This file can then be edited with other account names needed to suit your needs. If you have an existing QuickBooks file, the next section of this tutorial has some steps on restarting a new company file from an existing file. This is also an opportunity to consult your tax professional if additional accounting changes need to be made. These account and item names need to be verified that the spelling is exactly the same as those in your QuickBooks file. From the main menu, double-click on the wizard hat. This will take you to the Setup and Registration screen. Then, click on Preferences, click OK, and then click on Extended Preferences. Go to the Additional Settings tab, and down at the QuickBooks Export method, select Experimental SDK, then click Exit. Now, go to the QuickBooks setup under Preferences. Under Account Name, this should be listed as Accounts Receivable. The category section should be Furniture. This is a generic name used for the line items in the invoice when exporting to QuickBooks. Under Sales Tax Vendor, enter the name of the entity you pay sales tax to. For example, this could be the Missouri Department of Revenue. Finally, select the Order Export method. This can either be by order date or by complete date. The complete date option is most common. If you have been using the IIF method or QuickBooks in a standalone fashion, you will need to start with a clean file. There are some shortcuts to get your lists back into your new file if you are happy with the current setup. Once again, please consult a tax professional with questions regarding the specifics of your setup, as the setup of your file may impact your financials. The first thing you need to do is to get your current QuickBooks file to a good stopping point and then export the following lists. Firstly, export the following list to IIF under File, Utilities, Export, Lists. First is the chart of accounts. Second is the vendor list. To do this, open the IIF in Excel and remove all vendors that are suppliers in Furniture Wizard. They will get pushed over during the initial sync. Next is the employee list. This is an optional export, but if you choose to perform it, be sure to remove employees that are no longer with the company. Then export the payment terms list. And finally, export the budget. This too is an optional export. Once you have your new file set up, you will need to use the trial balance from your old file to create your new starting entries. If you are using the complete date method of exporting, you will have various pending sales and deposits in Furniture Wizard that will need pushed into your new files. There are several steps to confirm that these pending sales are accounted for correctly. First of all, in Furniture Wizard, run report number 236, which is the Invoice Payments by Location report. Be sure to select a from date that is very old to make sure you capture all pending sales. Then, make sure to select Pending. You can run this report by individual branch if you are using separate bank accounts for each location. The following steps deal with the common situation of using the IIF method. This report total will be needed to get your bank balance in line after the initial push, since we will be pushing in deposits that have been previously reconciled. A few calculations will need to be done on your trial balance with this number. First, you will subtract the total of this report from the bank account the deposits were reconciled to. Then, you will add this number to your accounts receivable. If you are using the IIF method, you will normally have a negative accounts receivable balance. If you are doing some manual steps to arrive at your accounts receivable, you may have to contact your accounting professional to get advice on how to make adjustments to your trial balance in order to handle the initial push of deposits. If you are using the complete date method and using delivered as the complete date trigger, you may have invoices that are in your accounts receivable in QuickBooks that may need manual adjustments. We recommend running an open invoice report in your current file to determine what invoices need to be re-entered into the new file. In the chart of accounts, make sure you have the following accounts listed: accounts receivable, undeposited funds, sales, sales tax payable, discount, delivery, and customer deposits. The sales, sales tax payable, discount, delivery, and customer deposits account names can be modified if you prefer. The numbers function can be used in QuickBooks as well to help organize your chart of accounts. In the item lists, make sure that you have the following listed. Be sure to have furniture listed. The account associated with this item should be your sales account set up in the previous step. This item needs to match what you have called it in Furniture Wizard if you have changed it. This item should be set up as a non-inventory item. The next item is delivery. The account associated with this item should be your delivery account set up in the previous step. This item needs to be spelled exactly the same way. You should create this as a service part. The taxability of this item is overridden from your Furniture Wizard settings. Then, sales discount should be listed. The account associated with this item should be your sales discount account set up in the previous step. This item also needs to be spelled exactly the same way. The item type should be a discount. You can select if this item should be tax or non-tax in QuickBooks. The most common setup is to set this as tax. However, you should check with your professional advisor about any questions you may have. The fourth item is QuickBooks Sales Tax. The account associated with this item will be your sales tax payable account. This is a required sales tax item in QuickBooks. The final item is sales tax. The account associated with this item will be your sales tax payable account. This is the item Furniture Wizard will also associate your sales tax with. In the vendor list, make sure you have the name of the entity you pay the sales tax to set up. Please make sure that these account and item names are spelled exactly the same in Furniture Wizard and QuickBooks. There are a couple of other settings we need to check are correct. You need to determine if you will be using classes. Whether you are or not, this setting will either need to be turned on or turned off. We also want to make sure the payment methods are cleared. Furniture Wizard will push the payment methods over based on your payment preferences. This list can be found under the payment method list in the customer and vendor profile lists. Next, we want to make sure the supplier payment terms in Furniture Wizard match the vendor payment terms in QuickBooks. The supplier payment terms can be found in the supplier area in Furniture Wizard, and the vendor payment terms can be found in QuickBooks under Lists, Customer and Vendor Profile Lists, and Terms Lists. Here, you can add terms as necessary to match Furniture Wizard. It is highly recommended that before you begin an export, you back up your data. Also, make a copy of the QuickBooks file you have prepared. From the main menu of Furniture Wizard, click the Additional Features tab, and then click QuickBooks Export. This will bring you to the QuickBooks Export Manager. Here, you will enter a start date only the very first time that you do an export. Please note, you will not change the date on any of the following exports. This start date should be the date that you designate as being the first date to export data from Furniture Wizard. Any data from that date forward to the present will be exported. If you have more than one branch and you wish to export all branches to one QuickBooks file, leave the branch field blank. You would only select a branch if you are using a different QuickBooks file to keep track of the different branches. On the first export, you will be asked to point to the QuickBooks file you would like to sync with. Make sure the location and name of this file is permanent, as changing the location later requires a few more steps. Click on QuickBooks Export. A window will open and ask you to select the QuickBooks file. Once you select the file, the window will close. Now, open the QuickBooks file you are going to sync with, and again, click the Push Data to QuickBooks. When you do the first push to the QuickBooks file, QuickBooks will prompt you for access approval. The screen is asking you to authorize Furniture Wizard to access your QuickBooks file. You can click Yes to anytime the file is open. At this time, QuickBooks needs to be open during the sync. Once you make your selection, the sync process will begin. If your Furniture Wizard file has many customers, the initial sync may take some time. It is best to run it when you have time, as it will lock the Furniture Wizard terminal you are at until it completes. If during the course of the sync there are any errors, you will need to make a note of them. There may be data-related adjustments that need to be made to complete the sync if errors occur. Many simple data-related errors can be corrected, and then the push can be performed again, and it will pick up where it left off. If there are unforeseen setup or data problems, this is a good reason to have backed up your Furniture Wizard data and the QuickBooks file you will sync with. To verify that your sync from Furniture Wizard was done successfully, print the following reports for a given date range. In Furniture Wizard, report numbers 231, 388, and 37. In QuickBooks, print the sales account, sales tax payable account, undeposited funds account, and cost of goods sold. Total undeposited funds should be equal to exported payments. If these totals do not match, you must compare the reports to find the missing items. Total liability account for customer deposits in QuickBooks should equal your open balance report from Furniture Wizard. If this total does not equal, you should obtain a credit memo report from Furniture Wizard to see if any of the invoices listed on this report need to be adjusted in QuickBooks. You may need to issue a refund or apply a credit. There are also a couple of alternate methods to verify your total sales exported from Furniture Wizard into QuickBooks. Firstly, you can run report number 231, the Daily Sales Analysis Report. You can run this report for a specific date range for all invoices and compare your totals on this report with the totals found in QuickBooks for those accounts. Also, the cost of goods sold total can be obtained from this report for the cost of goods sold journal entry. Secondly, you can run report number 388, the Sales Tax Report Extended by Order Date Report. This report will provide you with a list of invoices by date written, with a breakdown of totals in sales, sales tax, and delivery. If you pay sales tax on written sales, this will be the report to use. It is very important that you balance these two reports to make sure that you are paying the correct amount in sales tax. Finally, report number 37 is the Daily Payments Report. This report will provide you with the total of daily payments. These payments should be those found under undeposited funds in QuickBooks. The total on this report, minus any credits or refunds, should equal your undeposited funds total in QuickBooks. When running this report, keep in mind that any credits applied from a previous invoice will show up on this report. That is why it is recommended that you name this type of payment a credit or refund. That way you can tell it apart from a real payment made with cash or a credit card. A little tip for you: to bring up a report by report number, Click on the Reports menu, double-click on the left side of the exit door, and this will open the Search for Report by Number box. Then you can type in the report number and click OK. You can also verify the synchronization by complete date. To do this, you'll want to print the following reports. In Furniture Wizard, print report numbers 383, 37, and 204. In QuickBooks, print the sales account, sales tax payable account, undeposited funds, and cost of goods sold. Another way to verify that the sync was done successfully in this method is to run the following reports from Furniture Wizard and compare this total to the general ledger report from QuickBooks. First is report number 260, the completed sales analysis report. This report will provide you with a list of invoices that were completed for the date range of your transfer. From this report, you will be able to verify that all invoices have a complete date. Keep in mind that if the status is delivered, but there is no complete date on the invoice, then these invoices did not get exported into QuickBooks. Therefore, you must verify what the real status should be. Invoices on this report should be invoices found in your sales account in QuickBooks. This means that your invoice total minus discount total on this report should be equal to your sales total in QuickBooks. Next is report number 383, the sales tax report extended by complete date. This report will provide you with a list of invoices completed for the period, with a breakdown of totals in sales, sales tax, and delivery. These totals should equal totals found in QuickBooks for these accounts mentioned before. It is very important that you balance these two reports to make sure that you are paying the correct amount in sales tax. The final report, number 37, is the daily payments report. This report will provide you with a total of daily payments. These payments should be those found under undeposited funds in QuickBooks. The total on this report, minus any credits or refunds, should equal your undeposited funds total in QuickBooks. When running this report, keep in mind that any credits applied from a previous invoice will show up on this report. That is why it is recommended that you name this type of payment a credit or refund. That way you can tell it apart from a real payment made with cash or a credit card. The same reports used to verify that the export was done successfully can be used to verify end of the month totals. Make sure you are using the date range from beginning to end of the month for the correct period. Since inventory value is tracked in Furniture Wizard, it is recommended that you print an inventory value report, inventory value summary, or inventory value summary by location report at the end of each month so that you can have this information on hand and adjust your inventory value in QuickBooks at the end of the month. This report gives you information as of the date of the report, and you cannot go back in time. Therefore, it is important to run this report at the end of the month. Inventory cost of goods does not automatically transfer from Furniture Wizard into QuickBooks. A journal entry in QuickBooks is necessary to reconcile inventory on hand. The inventory figure reflected on the balance sheet should reflect the amount stated on the inventory value report from Furniture Wizard. The inventory adjustment consists of the total of items purchased and received into inventory, less items sold and removed from inventory. If the total is a negative number, inventory will be credited and cost of goods will be debited. If the total is a positive number, inventory will be debited and cost of goods will be credited. For customers exporting all invoices into QuickBooks, the cost of goods sold total can be obtained from the daily sales analysis report, which is report number 231. For customers exporting invoices into QuickBooks by complete date, the cost of goods sold total can be obtained from report number 204, the completed sales analysis report. After making your adjusting entry, verify that your inventory asset account in QuickBooks has the same total as the inventory value on hand report from Furniture Wizard. It is recommended that you consult with your accountant before you make this adjustment to make sure you are doing it correctly. To create a journal entry to adjust inventory, you will follow the following steps. First, from the banking menu, choose Make Journal Entry. Fill in the entry number. In the Account column, select Inventory. Enter your adjustment as a debit to increase the inventory value, or as a credit to decrease it. Enter a memo about the amount. The memo appears on reports that include the general journal entry. Then, in the Account column, select Cost of Goods. Enter your adjustment as a debit to increase the cost of goods, or as a credit to decrease it. The transaction must reach a zero balance. The automation of the accounts receivable with customer deposits has a side effect on the sales tax reports. The customer deposit items need to be excluded from the report, but can only be done by using a filter and then memorizing the report for future use. This is how to do this. First, go to the sales tax report. Then, click Customize. Select Filters, and under Item, select everything except Customer Deposit. Click OK several times and exit the customization. To save customer reports, you must first go to Reports and create a custom group. In the sample file, a group is created called Your Name. Follow these steps to do this. First, when you are on a report, click Memorize. Then, you can adjust the report name if you so wish. Next, click to save the report group. After that, select a group from the list. You can add a group in the Memorized Report area if you have not already. It is easy to reference if you use Your Name, for example. In order to keep good track of sales returns transferring from Furniture Wizard into QuickBooks, the correct steps need to be followed, taking into consideration what happened to the original invoice. Here are a couple of different scenarios and transactions and how to handle them. The first scenario is if an invoice was transferred to QuickBooks and then a customer returns an item or all the items on the invoice. Firstly, an invoice needs created in Furniture Wizard for the return, and the items will be entered with a negative quantity. If the customer is going to receive cash or a check refund, then a check needs to be manually created. Next, a negative payment, called a credit or refund, must be made in the amount of the invoice that needs to be applied to that invoice in Furniture Wizard. Then, when this return invoice is transferred to QuickBooks, the negative subtotal creates the credit memo. If the customer is going to receive cash or a check refund, then a check needs to be manually created and applied to accounts receivable with the customer's name under the job. To do this, go to the Customers menu and Refunds and Credits in QuickBooks. Go to the credit memo for that customer and click the Check Refund icon on the top bar. This will create a check to print for the customer. If money is going to be refunded in QuickBooks, from the credit memo window, click on the Check Refund icon, and that will create the refund check to print, which will deduct this amount from your checking account. The second scenario is if an invoice was transferred to QuickBooks and the customer is exchanging their original purchase for something else. First, a new invoice needs to be created in Furniture Wizard for the exchange. The return items will be entered with a negative quantity, and the new items will be entered with a positive quantity. If the exchange leaves the new invoice with a negative subtotal, a credit memo will be created in QuickBooks when the new invoice is pushed over. If the exchange leaves the invoice with a balance due, then the customer still owes you money. The third scenario is if an invoice has not been transferred to QuickBooks, then changes can be made to it. When doing this, keep in mind that any payments previously applied to this invoice might have already been transferred to QuickBooks. If the customer is completely canceling the invoice, you should enter a negative payment in Furniture Wizard to record the refund. This negative payment will not be transferred into QuickBooks. You will need to delete the deposit invoice in QuickBooks to show the customer's credit balance. The refund can then be processed by creating a refund check in QuickBooks. If the customer is canceling a few items, then there are two options. 1. If the invoice still has an open balance, then no changes are required in QuickBooks. And 2. If the invoice has a negative balance due and you will be refunding money, you will need to enter the negative payment like you would have previously. To set up Furniture Wizard to sell gift cards, go to Preferences and Special Items. Create a special item. We'll use the name GC with a description of gift card. This item has been set up as a non-taxable item. This setting should be confirmed with your local tax authority. Please note that in this example, all of the cost and retail fields are 0. If you use this selection, you will need to make sure the Allow $0 cost checkbox is marked in Item Pricing in Preferences. To sell a gift card, start a new invoice and use this special item. In this example, I have created a customer called Gift Card, and we will run all of the sales for gift cards through this customer. We are showing cash payments on this gift card purchase, but it could easily be any payment method you accept. To redeem a gift card in Furniture Wizard, you must set up a payment type. You would click on the Create New Payment and name it as Gift Card. To use the new payment type, simply create an invoice and use the new payment type. The payment will be exported into QuickBooks and show up in deposits. The process is complete at this point in Furniture Wizard, and the next steps will take place in QuickBooks. To handle the processing of gift cards in QuickBooks, some initial setup must first take place. First, you must set up two accounts. The first is a bank account titled something such as Gift Card Payment. This will be used to handle the gift card payments. The second is a liability account named something such as Gift Certificates Outstanding. When selling a gift card, you must adjust the invoice that imports from Furniture Wizard. This is simple if you have kept the sales of gift cards under the gift card customer. You simply search for that customer and open the invoice, and switch the item to the gift card item you created. We have applied the cash payment to this invoice, so now we are finished. Payments import from Furniture Wizard as the gift card, or other name you have indicated. These can be seen when making deposits. You will select all of the gift card payments you have processed on a given day. Once you have selected the deposits, you will need to make sure you are putting them in the gift card payment bank account. This payment can then be credited to the customer's invoice just like any other type of payment. This has completed the daily processing of taking a gift card payment. At the end of the month, you must adjust the 2 accounts you have created to handle the processing of gift cards. With a memorized general journal entry, this is a very quick process. The entry will credit your gift card payments bank account and debit your gift certificates outstanding. The number used in this entry should be the current balance in your gift card payments bank account. Using this amount will lower your outstanding liability by the amount you have received in gift card payments during the month. This shows the 2 accounts after the monthly adjustment has been done. Because I have entered a future date, the blue line has been inserted above the final transactions. This procedure would normally be done as the final day in the month. To start using a finance company in Furniture Wizard, you must first set up a payment type by going to Preferences and Tax and Payment Preferences. If you use multiple companies, you may want to set up a payment type for each vendor. Use the payment type as normal in Furniture Wizard, showing the total amount the customer will be financing. The payment will transfer to QuickBooks in the next export. In addition to an expense account for the financing expense, you will need to set up a bank account to use as an offset of your daily deposits. The deposits will come from Furniture Wizard and can be selected by payment type and deposited in your normal bank account. The use of the offset account comes into play to handle the expense associated with the financing. At the end of the month, you will make an adjusting entry, taking the balance in the GE Finance bank account and offsetting it to your GE Finance expense account. For financial reporting purposes, the offsetting bank account should be zeroed out at the end of each month. A memorized transaction can easily be added, so you just have to adjust the dollar amount and hit the record button. Backup copies are important insurance. If you should lose data for any reason, you can restore data from your backup copy. This should be performed daily. There are 3 main files in Furniture Wizard that should be copied daily: the wiz_data.mdb file, the customer.mdb file, and the wizard.mdb file. These files are traditionally copied to a removable media, such as a flash drive or CD-ROM. If you would like to know more about this, please refer to the backup section of the Furniture Wizard manual. To create a backup in QuickBooks, from the File menu, choose Backup and make sure the Backup Company File tab is selected. Type the backup location in the file name and location fields. This is traditionally a removable media, such as a flash drive or CD-ROM. Thank you for watching this demonstration. For further instruction, please refer to the Furniture Wizard User's Guide or contact Furniture Wizard at support@FurnitureWizard.com.